And here we are with another Zoomathon guest, Maria Romano. I love the flow of your name, Maria Romano. It sort of goes with your whole brand, True Love Nuts. What can I say? But thank you so much for being a presenter on the July version of our Zoomathon benefit for the Philanthropreneur Foundation. And at this point, I'm just going to turn it over to you because you have so much to share. So take the stage.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Boyd. You're right, Maria Romano, it's cheese. That's what it means, fabulous cheese. So that's what I can tell you. Have you had these thoughts running through your mind? I can't believe I'm still alone. I really thought I'd find somebody by now. What's wrong with me? Are you feeling alone? Because you know what? You're certainly not alone. As a matter of fact, loneliness is a huge problem, and it's even bigger than the pandemic. And I know that sounds like, my gosh, how that really impacts you. But more people are feeling isolated and alone than any other point. And knowing that you're hopeless, and a lot of us are lonely because we want to find love, but we just don't know what to do. We think that we leave it up to chance, right? We've all been conditioned, and we've all been lied to. For many years, we've really been lied to that true love is by chance. We get that conditioning from romance novels, TV, right? We have movies, literature that tell us that true love happens by chance, right? Boy meets girl by accident. They fall in love. For some reason, they break up. There's a disconnect. And then they meet again by accident, and they live happily ever after. And that's great if that really was real life. And that's because most of us do leave love up to chance. But if you decide to make a choice, and that's what it is, making a choice, and you want to be successful in your relationship, you can find love and live happily ever after. So I'm going to start my screen share. And host has disabled. It says we're disabled. So let's try that again. We're going to make sure this works. Okay, let's go to the screen share. Okay. Host disabled from screen sharing. All right. I'm not able to screen share. Okay. Let's see. All right. Can you see my screen? Perfect.
Absolutely, I can. I had muted my.
Stop sharing. It's not working.
Sharing was on.
It wasn't moving. Hold on.
Oh.
All right, let's go back to why is it not showing me? Let's do this.
Showing on my end. Okay, it's there.
Are you seeing? Okay.
Yeah, do you feel alone?
Perfect. These are glitches that you have when you have webinars, everybody. So just we go with the flow. But you know what? We talk about loneliness, and loneliness is a big, big problem in our country. And like I was saying, that we do feel alone, and some of us feel stuck, and we don't know what to do, and we don't know how to go out there and find love again. And that's why I have developed a process, a step-by-step process of going from just one to a plus one. And now my screen isn't. And I think it's important for people to realize that we're wired for connection, because most of us, we want to be in a relationship. I mean, just think about going back to years ago with Adam and Eve, right? That's why Adam wanted somebody to come along into his life, and then Eve came along. Although she bit the apple she wasn't supposed to. And I think what happened is you can kind of equate it to today, is when they were leaving the Garden of Eden, um, what happened, Adam turned to Eve and said, I think we're in transition. And right now, today, because of us feeling lonely, we are in transition, and especially in light of the pandemic. And that's why I like to help people go from being a just one to a plus one. And this is the course that I have developed. And I'm going to give you just some information that will give you some nuggets if you're thinking about getting back into the dating world. And especially depending upon where you're at in life, you know, you might have been in a relationship, you could be divorced, you could be a widow or widower, wherever it's at. And how I came about this is, you know, I know exactly how you feel. You know, I was married for over 33 years to my husband, Frank, and I lost him almost 8 years ago. And I decided a couple of years later, I wanted to get back into the dating world, and I wanted to find love again. And you know what? I tried, and I got my rear end kicked because it wasn't that easy. And what I found out in the dating world, like a lot of other people have, is that the dating hasn't changed, but the platforms of dating have changed. And we need to more or less pivot and shift ourselves to what is going on today with the world changing. And as a matter of fact, dating has changed in the last few months, let alone in the last few decades. So from there, I developed this course because I've realized that there were a lot of people that felt like I did. You feel isolated. You feel like you're getting older, right? But you still want love, and you still want a connection. And you should have that connection. And one of the things is I like to start off with is one of the nuggets that I do want to share with you is I'd like to talk just briefly about it's important before you get into the dating world to be yourself. And why being yourself is important is you're probably thinking, heck, I know myself. I'm a certain age, right? I've lived life. That's true. You have lived your life. But many of us, you and me, what we have done is we wind up acquiescing to what somebody else needs. We become a chameleon. So even though we think we are who we are, we're just acting to other people and reacting to people in relationships. And what happens is when you get back into the dating world, sometimes you're looking to please somebody. And the worst thing that you can do is just please somebody. You need to be who you are. And that does take a little bit of time and a little bit of soul searching, because sometimes we forget our needs. We're always putting out our needs behind us and somebody else's needs before us. I'll never forget, I had a gentleman, he came to me and he was getting ready for this first date. And he said, I was so excited. And she was coming over to my home, this gal, and she was a yoga instructor. He said, so I started hanging all these pictures all over the house about yoga. And I said, why'd you do that? He said, because I wanted to please her. No. That's where you need to take a step back. That's great when you meet somebody that has something that they're very passionate about. But you need to then take the time and work on you, because you want somebody to see the authentic you. And one of the best phrases that I really found that I felt really signified what this means is always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of someone else. Isn't that the truth, right? Think about that. It's so true, right? It's because we sometimes, again, we adapt to wanting to be who people think we are instead of who we really are. So just take that into consideration before you decide to get back into the dating world. And I get into that real deeply with a lot of my courses, which help clients. But the next thing is this beautiful heart, right? We need to love ourselves. Love ourselves. And again, why do we need to love ourselves? And some people think, well, I am myself, I love myself. That's not necessarily always the case. We are our own worst critics. We do. We self-sabotage ourselves. And we focus on the negative. Just take a moment and think about maybe if you've been in a situation where you've had a review with an employer, right? And the employer is going through this review and they're telling you 35 fabulous things that are great about you. And then they talk about the 2 or 3 things that you can improve upon. What do you focus on? You focus on, right? You focus on the things that are not, that really, that are the negative. And that's what happens. And before you get back into the dating world, you really need to soul search, and you need to take a moment and think about the beautiful qualities that you have that are unique to you, because that is important. Because when you get back into the dating world, what's going to happen is you're going to have a little bit of lack of confidence that's going to, you know, intercede with your feelings, and you're going to feel a little bit of self-doubt and a little unsure. But that's okay, because what you can do is, I'm going to give you this great tip, this nugget, is build your love tribe. Build your love tribe. And how I came across this one day, I was listening to the late and great Maya Angelou, and she was talking about when you feel less than confident, when you walk in a room, you take the people with you, even if they're no longer alive, and you have them surround yourself with those layers of people that loved you, that pushed you forward, were your biggest coach and cheerleaders. So this is where I have established, and I said, build your love tribe. Whenever you're walking into a situation that you're just not too sure about, take your love tribe with you, because when you do, what's going to happen is you're going to be able to feel confident, feel sure of yourself, and enjoy yourself. Because let's face it, dating should be fun. I know I have many clients that come to me and say, but Maria, this is so much work. It shouldn't be. Dating should be a lot of fun, because it's getting out there and getting out in the dating world, and that's what it's all about. And don't limit yourself. When you get out into the dating world today, what's beautiful is you can meet people from all over the world, all walks of life. You can meet people and you can date people of a different race, a different culture, a different religion. Heck, you might even cross political parties for all you know. But it's important to open up your mind and heart, should you be ready to make the choice. And that's what love is all about. And that's what going from a just one to a plus one is about, is making yourself a choice and making sure that you're rocking yourself. Because when you rock yourself again, you're going to attract the perfect person for you. But as we go through life, right, and we sit back and we think about our dating life, and like I said, you have a choice to do that. Because leaving it up to chance, Prince Charming is not going, or Princess Charming is not going to just arrive at your doorstep with that beautiful horse and carriage and the Learjet waiting over at the private terminal. You need to take the bull by the horns if you're ready to get back there into the dating world, because you can find love again. And take a moment and think about all the things you have done in your life that you've done to enhance yourself, right? You are your most valuable asset. You have maybe taken some more schooling on, and for your professional life, you've taken more classes, right? You've elevated yourself. And then maybe you've accumulated some wealth. So you have expanded your financial life so that you can retire, you can enjoy yourself, you can travel, you can leave generational wealth, right? And also, you take care of yourself physically. Your medical well-being is so important. You go out, maybe you go to doctors, you get checkups. If you have any issues, you take care of those ailments. You go out and you work out, you watch what you eat. You spend all this time and you seek out the professionals. But what about your love life? What are you doing to make sure that you find somebody that's going to resonate with you, and somebody that you're going to enjoy for the rest of your life? What are you doing for that? You need to find a professional, because you're going to make a choice to have somebody in your life. And if you don't make the right choice, it can cost you mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. But most of all, you've also lost the most valuable commodity you have, is time. And time is a very important commodity. You can never get it back. And also, when you find somebody in your life, if you decide to make a choice, think about the legacy. Think about your legacy when you find somebody in your life and you break away from any of those old patterns. Maybe you used to attract somebody in your life that maybe you attracted somebody that was dependent upon you. Maybe you were dependent upon them. Maybe they had an addiction problem, whatever it is. And then you stop that pattern because you made the choice. You looked and you dived into yourself to be who you are, loving who you are. Then what happens is you've created, right, a healthy relationship. You've met somebody, both of you support each other, love each other, you become a powerful couple. By doing that, what you're doing is you're also setting an example for the people around you, the people that love you. Maybe it's your children and maybe it's your grandchildren. So what you're doing is you're actually giving them a gift. You are giving them the gift of generational love. And that's powerful. That's right. Generational love. Just think about being able to pass that along from generation to generation because you made a choice. It's powerful. And by doing so, by spreading generational love and passing it along, what you're doing is you're spreading peace and love throughout the world. Because you made a choice. It starts with you.
Well, thank you. I have some questions. That's me. That's what I do. I love when you started with be yourself. I like to say keep yourself. Because you know, in me going through getting remarried late in life, I had created some things that I love to do by myself that I didn't necessarily at the time even think I needed to get married because I was doing everything I wanted to do and I didn't have a problem doing it by myself. And so when I decided, like you said, it's a choice that, you know, I might want to go from 1 to +1. I'm going to use some of your terms. Some of my key criteria were they willing to accept the things that I like to do and not make me change, but could I keep being myself and enjoying those things that I wanted to enjoy, whether they wanted to join me in doing them or still allowing me, and I guess allowing is not a good word based on, as I'm thinking about what you just said, or me making the choice to do it by myself. So yeah, I guess I should have put a question in there. Is that something that you emphasize with people? Yes, being yourself. Some people have to learn how to be themselves, but it's so important. Is it important to keep yourself?
Well, first of all, Dr. Boyd, I just love what you said. We can do the Love and Marriage series because you just came on what's important for a good marriage, what you did said. Actually, it's just a good relationship because people choose not to always get married today, but they want to be, of course, make a commitment to someone. And that's true. And you are the anomaly because, and especially as women today, we do have a tendency of not keeping who we are and we put aside our needs, more so women than men. But I'm not saying men don't do the same thing. So that's important when you establish the ground rules. And that's the key thing, is the basis of a relationship. The ground rules, allowing each other, doing things together. But gosh, you need to do things separately. There's no question, because when you come back, you know what happens? You share that experience, your friendship grows, your love grows, but your trust grows. And those are the three things. And actually, that's what I use in my vows, and also I use them in my marriage ceremony. So a lot of it correlates.
Absolutely. Okay, great. And because you mentioned that you do vows, I was remiss in not actually letting you introduce who you are and some of your background at the very beginning. That was go ahead.
Actually, I'm Bronx born, so we'll start off with that. I've been in Vegas 40 4 years. Anybody out here that listens to this, will be great. I still have a little bit of a dialect, but I was in the rent-a-car industry with my late husband for many years, and I decided, I went to a wedding over at the Las Vegas Country Club about 12 years ago, and I saw a woman perform, this wedding, and I said, I can do this. And I knew, being in a relation, I knew my husband had a heart transplant in 1997, so he lived 15 years post-transplant. And I knew I was on borrowed time, and I knew I had to keep busy, and I wanted to be around love. So I actually got ordained online, and I went out, put my heels on, went to every chapel up and down the strip. And as I told you in the beginning, we didn't have this on tape, but I started off, it was also another industry where it was male dominated. So I broke in and I told the chapels that I would handle their commitment ceremonies, because people weren't marrying same sex. That was then. This is how, look, dating's changed, marriage has changed. So that's how I started. So I've really been blessed over the last several years. I've done about 3,000 weddings. And I'm hoping that this year, listen, love, even though there's the pandemic right now, love doesn't go away, and you can still find love. It's
Absolutely.
So important.
And love is actually what's going to get us through all of this,
Absolutely. It does.
Yeah. And another thing that you mentioned, yes, I was taking notes here. Because I talk about legacy also. I'm in the nonprofit industry, and a lot of what evolves when people decide to create nonprofits is that they want to leave a legacy. And I look at what I call sustaining marriage. My parents were married for 69 years. Before they passed. And I look at their relationship as a legacy, but also an example that if you are truly setting the example, that you're leaving a legacy. You talked about generational love, and it's also that example that, I saw my mother never give up. Yeah, I mean, I saw them fight. That just happens. You bicker and you do things, but she never gave up. And I think that's a key thing, that if you know how to fight, if you whatever.
That's right.
And not throwing in the towel. And I think there's a difference between throwing in the towel and knowing how to fight.
That's, what, Dr. Board, that is so true, because what happens with lots of couples is first of all, having differences of opinion is healthy. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't always agree. And you need to learn how to fight fairly. And this is what I always recommend, and I'm sure you've been around enough people, and your mother was obviously astute enough to understand when it's time to just walk away, but to really, you have to fight fairly, and the communication, and it has to be something where it is respectful and not nasty. And I think that's where you have to set those guidelines. But it takes a lot of people many years. And you're right, your parents set an example, and that's the key thing. And it's interesting because my parents, unfortunately, they divorced early on, and even though my marriage to my husband was my second marriage, we had a child together, and she has only seen one marriage, and she's seen how it worked, and she is now married to her high school sweetheart. She's 35 now, on her third marriage, on her third child, not third marriage. Oh my gosh, sorry for that. But and also I talk about opening, and also people come from different cultures and different races and different backgrounds. So you need to learn about each other and how they communicate too, because the world has opened. We have so many interracial marriages.
Yeah.
And
so, And okay, one last question that that you sort of sparked with some of your comments. When people decide to date, it's a choice. Isn't it important to also decide what is the goal of dating? And here's what I preface this on. I don't know, and I'm going back a few years because I am older, but earlier, let's say in the mid 40s and 50s, when, it almost they felt like it was an obligation. Oh my God, I gotta go on a date. I don't know, maybe times have changed. But, it was like, I haven't had a date in 3 months. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like dating should be fun. And if it ever becomes this painful experience, maybe the goal is wrong. Or what do you
Yeah,
think?
it depends upon what you set yourself, if you set yourself for failure or success. And there are many men and women I meet, for example, that they have a standard. So they only want to go out with somebody that's going to take them for a very elaborate dinner. But really, you really have to give somebody a chance. Sometimes an elaborate dinner might not be the way to go. I always recommend going out and, again, having fun, making it, don't put pressure on yourself. The goal is you want to find somebody. And dating gives you that opportunity to meet several people so you can find out what works for you. But give that person a chance. We're too quick to just put something that we focus on what we don't like, and there could be other qualities.
Yeah.
So do that as well. Don't put pressure on yourself.
Yeah, and I've always heard the term, you always find someone when you're not looking, because you've released all of the pressure.
That's right.
And I think that's so true. Stop making it mandatory, but make it a choice.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so much fun talking with you about love and marriage.
Okay, so this is Maria Romano presenting at the July Zoomathon. I want to thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.